These communal forces says that you're not talking about cookies. When I said 60,000, 70,000, their brain must work. That 60 to 70,000 includes cookies. And if a cookie doctor is working in a hospital, does it mean that he is not going to take care of a Meitei patient? That nonsense must stop. That demand for a separate administration, separate state based on communal identity, just as Muslim League has done it. Cookies. I dare one cookie politician and come up and say the same thing.
Ahan Muktada Tindiri Veri Chapul Maku Kokmun Rinjari. And greetings to friends who have gathered here to mark a day which we all wish had not happened in the history of our state, if not this country. Last time I spoke on this spot in a meeting, I think organized by the MCC. I thought, let this be the last meeting for all of us. But I think those forces which have tried to destroy our state and their collaborators have been scheming things which force us to have this meeting again today. And I like to put today for a couple of things for all of us to reflect, irrespective of the communities, irrespective of whether you are from Manipur or outside. First of all, what we need to understand is the issue that we face today should not be seen in terms of a communal lens. It must be understood for what it is. It is politics. It is a political contestation, and we must fight it politically. I have said this in the first meeting that I've attended here, and I said, do not blame the entire community, for instance, the cookies. You blame their elites and their divisive politics. This is a lesson that I have learned, and we all should learn from Mahatma Gandhi, who once said, our struggle is against the British rule over us, not against the British people. So our struggle is not against the cookies as a community, or for that matter, for the cookies, if they have grievances, this is not a fight against the Meiteis, but against certain kind of politics that they may not like it. So we must position the crisis that we have in terms of politics. So what is this politics that we face today? And I was told that today also, the same politics marked today as Separation Day. There's a clear message that they want to break up Manipur. And this politics wants to break Manipur on the basis of what? On the basis of communal identities. And this country must remember one thing. In 1940, and before that, Savarkar preached the two-nation theory, which was repeated by Muhammad Ali Jinnah in his speech in Lahore in 1940, that the Hindus and Muslims cannot live together. And they must have two different destinies and therefore two different forms of political organization, Pakistan and India. And those politics and those people who are following that politics of Separation Day today and who wants to break Manipur is speaking the same language. We should not forget that. In Pahalgam incident, what you have seen is that the nation is gearing up to face this problem. Our Union Home Minister said that our issues implicate external forces. Ghuspethi bolte the wo. And they ought to respond in a similar fashion. Pakistani General Asim Munir said that the Hindus and Muslims cannot live together. The same two-nation theory after Pahalgam incident. And that we still continue to hear in this country, that some people say that Kukis and Meiteis cannot live together. This is the same language as those people who think that the Muslims and Hindus cannot live together. If you condemn this kind of a communal projects and Pakistani's ploy of dividing the country, the same people must also fight against those people who say that Kukis and Meiteis cannot live together. You cannot have two parameters. If you think that the Pakistanis have come in to disturb the Hindu-Muslim relation in this country, and the same preaching that the Jinnah had done is continued even today, and they are trying to provoke by asking people's religion and killing, Manipur is facing a similar kind of a thing. Those people who say that the Kukis and Meiteis cannot live together, they are speaking the same language as the Pakistanis are speaking, and for that matter, what Jinnah had spoken, they are speaking the same language. This is nonsense. As long as you stay as the citizens of this country, you are bound to work together in military organization, in academic institution, in business institutions, in parliament, in assemblies. You are bound to live together and work together. If a professor is teaching a Meitei in a university, does it mean that in that university no Kukis cannot teach? If a Kuki doctor is working in a hospital, does it mean that he is not going to take care of a Meitei patient? That nonsense must stop. That Meiteis and the Kuki cannot live together, and on the basis of your speaking like the Pakistanis to destroy Manipur, and this country cannot watch it silently. So this is the politics that we must confront and call them out. There's nothing but communal project. The idea of Manipur is not rested on an ethnic identity. We have multiple communities. We often say Manipur is a miniature India. And the rest of the country must know that. Especially those people who have been trapped in an ideological prescriptions in the name of minority, in the name of tribals, in the name of Christianity and so on. You must stand up. That's the first thing that we must understand. Manipur is under threat from communal politics, which speaks the language of those people who have divided India and those people who are seeking to divide with this kind of a violent actions in Kashmir. Remember, the demand for a separate state or a Kuki land or a Jalingam is nothing new. It's not a product of what happened on 3rd of May 2023. In fact, I have said this before and I am repeating it today. Muslim League under Jinnah had propounded the idea of Pakistan and India in his Lahore speech in 1940. And they tried to implement it by deciding on a date to take some action. And that action is called Direct Action Day, 16th of August 1946. Muslim League had demanded that there must be a homeland for the Muslim, and we demand this, and for that they call out what is called Direct Action Day, 16th August 1946. And I must dare say this, those communal forces from whichever side have collaborated to implement a Direct Action Day on 3rd of May 2023 to demand a separate homeland based on communal ideologies. So the 3rd of May, remember that, this is exactly the same as the 16th of August 1946. Demand for a separate administration, separate state based on communal identity, just as Muslim League had done it. Remember, 16th of August 1946, the Direct Action Day, spark of violence started in Kolkata, and within 3 days, 10,000 people died in communal mayhem in Kolkata and its surrounding area. And that is what we witnessed on 3rd of May 2023. Any Indians who were offended by General Munshir's statement about Hindus and Muslims not living together, which is rightly condemned by my colleague Shashi Tharoor recently in his press interview,
must also condemn those people who are saying that Meiteis and the Kuki cannot live together and therefore we need a separate state for the Kukis and separate state for the Meiteis. This is nothing but Pakistani ideology operating within India. And no Indian should support this kind of an ideology, this kind of a politics. That's a very clear-cut position. This should not be translated as a hatred for a community. As I repeated, this is a political fight and we must do this. Second, peace and normalcy cannot return as long as you have internally displaced persons, be that a Kuki or a Meitei. I'm repeating this whenever I said this. These communal forces says that you're not talking about Kukis. When I said 60,000, 70,000, their brain must work. That 60 to 70,000 includes Kukis. And I dare say this again, if some of you have noticed me, when I listen to women from Churachandpur who are crying and asking me questions, I said that day, this is just after the violence in the month of May 2023, I said, your pain must have also been felt by members of the other communities. You do not forget that. And this is a Meitei, then intellectual. Today as a politician I'm saying it's a Meitei politician saying that the pain that we go through must have been gone through by the Kukis. I dare one Kuki politician and come up and say the same thing. And while I was campaigning for my election, this is on video recording, there was a maril lady who was killed in Jeribam. It was quickly followed by another Meitei lady who was killed while she was working in the field. Right in the heart of Imphal in Singdamai, while addressing the public meeting, I requested the gathering, which is Meitei community. I said, please stand up. Let's stand in silence in memory of these two women. I dare say again, any of these Kuki politicians stand up like that and say the same thing in Churachandpur or in More. Who is communal and who is not communal, it must be very clear. Our imagination of the idea of Manipur is inclusive. And some are following this dubious character of a communal politics, and in some of the rest of the country through misinformation and disinformation campaign, you are painting one community as a victim and one community as a perpetrators. You are wrong. See the videos. Women crying out. Women crying from Churachandpur on third evening. The houses burned down in More and houses burned down in Churachandpur. That was third. What happened in Torbung Bangla and Torbung area was started around 3:30 and 3 in the afternoon. That is spread in the rest of the places in our state, including Imphal by the evening on 3rd. Ye violence kahan shuru kiya? Please investigate. You cannot have justice. You cannot have peace without justice. Justice demand either it is Kukis or a Meiteis. And a one-sided political propaganda of justice for the Kukis and painting one community as a villain, you are wrong. You must track down where the violence started. Who were responsible? Fix that, including who play around with that fire in that gate. What do you call it, Kuki? War Memorial Gate? Who did that firing? Please investigate. Take responsibility. And I must also tell you, does it constitute an excuse to have an en masse attack on civilians in Torbung areas because of what had happened in that gate? Does it justify? Will you justify the killing of that 8-month-old kid and women under captivity like the Terrorist Act? When we condemn, I condemn it. I wrote a piece in the national media when those two unfortunate Kuki women were paraded naked. I remember many Meiteis condemned that. have condemned that on social media, and I have written that also in the national media. I dare say, bring out the Kuki intellectual, bring out a Kuki politician who condemn those killing in Jiribam. That is the politics. Do not play victims. Everybody suffers. Your ideology cannot be entertained in this country. If you have genuine grievances, we must find it out. If this violence has been initiated by others, let the Ajai Lamba Commission of Inquiry come up. When it was constituted on the 4th of June 2023, it keeps on extending. You must not forget that the last extension is this 25th of May this year. Bring out the report. Fix who is responsible for this violence. Justice must be done to those victims, innocent civilians, be that Kukis or the Meiteis. I want the Kuki intellectuals and the Kuki politicians to speak the same language. Let the world know we have suffered enough. Lastly but not the least, the government of India is reducing this violence into something like a Kuki Meitei problem. Track down. Initially they said, you talk among yourself. That's the advice given by the government of India to civil society group. Today they are arranging the meeting. Why they did not arrange this meeting before? And I have said this, right from June, July 2023, the government of India is complicit in this problem. I do not want to mention things. The conversation I had with the officials, the gut feeling I had is that they are not interested in solving this problem. That was in 2023. I requested some, please start the second track dialogue among the civilian groups, just as you try to rein in this violence, use all the state machineries. People roaming around with guns is challenging the Indian state, be that in the valley or in the hills. You must rein in this violence and start the second channel dialogue. That time somebody told me that it is not the government of India's job, and today they are doing the job. Why? Article 19, freedom of movement. It's not a Kuki Meitei problem. This is the problem of constitutional order. This is an issue of governance. The government must ensure that these displaced people, be that Kuki or the Meiteis, they must go back to their original place. The government must ensure that. And these highways, remember that freedom of movement is linked to right to freedom, because your livelihood gets affected. It is a Supreme Court judgment. So Article 19 is related to Article 21. Since the right to life is affected, it's the responsibility of the Indian state to ensure that the citizens of that state of Manipur, be that Kuki or the Meiteis, must have this freedom of movement. And they are turning it into a Meitei Kuki problem. That's a problem of constitutional order and the capacity for the Indian state to enforce that constitution. Otherwise, you are almost kicking and spitting at the Indian constitution in the state of Manipur. That is something that we must keep in mind. I want to conclude with one information. I have said, when you rein in this violence, do it judiciously. It's already a vitiated atmosphere. Do not make it as if you are targeting one community and not the other. And unfortunately, the way the government is doing so far gives that impression that you are only targeting one community, not the other. This is to breed the suspicions and destroy the possibility of a peace and normalcy in the state. This should not be done. We need information, and rest of us also ask questions. Lot of politicking is done, particularly this BJP people. They don't realize what is non-partisan politics. Ask them, give them dictionary, let them read. What is non-partisan politics? When you face an issue of a national kind, then beyond party lines, you sit down together and say, let's work together. That's what Ibobi had done. In 2001, 2004, whether it is a delimitation, he always called for an all-party delegation and a meeting and go to Delhi. That's the time for us to have a non-partisan politics. These people have not done that. Why? Ask yourself. Whose interest is get implicated in this crisis? Longer the crisis, do not communalize all the time. There are a big time player involved in sustaining this problem. Do not be blinded by this kind of a communal ideological campaign. That's why I said it is a political fight. We need to do this together. 2 years is a long time. Nothing in this country has seen this kind of a problem. And we need to see this. And I wish again, and I pray, we do not have a third anniversary of this problem next year. The problem should be resolved before that. That is the responsibility of every Manipuris and every citizen of this country. Do not watch the problem of Manipur as if you are watching like a European watching Rwandan crisis out there. Just as you respond to Kashmir as if it is part of your heart, you should respond to Manipur as it is part of your heart. This is a national issue. That must not be forgotten. Nobody is gaining here. People from Churachandpur flying off Aijol airport where they could have traveled for 50 kilometers to Imphal airport, they're traveling for 300 plus. And many people who can't afford, they're flying to Guwahati from Imphal by air. And look at this also. In the name of market logic, people are sucking the blood of people. Then look at the ticket prices. And I'm still looking at it when they have this special arrangement of flights to Ajodhya during this Rama Mandir issue. I wanted to see what is the price. Does it go according to demand and supply logic, or did it have a concession or not? Check these things. The moment we open our eyes, and we'll be better off. And I want to end this question. Just as we try to disarm, it should be done judiciously. It should not be seen as a bias. We still don't know whether the SU is still in operation. Do not ask about Congress Nikia, BJP Nikia. You need to ask the right kind of question. I asked in the parliament about this, they throw away the question, saying that it's a national security. Avita, we don't know whether SU is there or not. We need to ask a lot of questions. If the state government is not involved in an agreement that is existing, they should come it out. And we must ask, an state issue related में state government के बिना कैसे आपने agreement कर दिया? If not, then you must crack down. If you have an agreement, then you must also see whether your code of conduct is still followed or not. These are basic questions that we must. We are finishing. आप खत्म करें 2 मिनट में बैठ. सिर्फ 2 मिनट दीजिए. So what I am saying is, any kind of grievances can be resolved through dialogue and conversations, and put it on the floor, and we need to have this conversation to resolve the issues. Do not blackmail, do not preach communal ideologies which threatens our state. And we stand up together and fight till we win and create a new Manipur out of this crisis. Thank you all.